Hey everybody, this is Bradley Benner with Lead Gadget in the ATM, and tonight is the next local training, or excuse me, the weekly training webinar. We're going to be talking about the local case study again tonight and some additional training that I put together and actually added to the Facebook group today. It can be found on the YouTube channel as well, and I'm going to share the link here on the events page to the playlist. I put together a series of videos today for kind of just an experiment I'm testing with the local case study build that we've been following now for about 2 weeks. And we're going to just dig into some of the details of that stuff in just a moment. And then there's a couple other things that I wanted to talk about that Brian wanted me to bring up tonight. So I guess we'll start with that. And this is new. It's called leadgadgetmarket.com. Brian posted something about this in the Facebook group earlier, but he just put this together like within the last 24 hours or so. And essentially it's kind of like it's a marketplace. Okay. So he wants to promote it so that we can get people into the marketplace and just get some activity going between buyers and sellers and products and anything that you could think of. And it doesn't cost anything. There's no commissions for any products or services sold. It just costs $5 a month to join. Okay. And then you can list your own products or your services. So for example, if you provide social media services or, network building or web 2.0 networks, or if you've got digital products that you want to sell, or if you do link building or GSA services, GSA link building packages or SendWire services, or FCS network, or anything that you can think of. If you've got PBNs and you want to sell PBN links here, you can do that, and you can price them at whatever price points you want. Okay, you can basically essentially just add your business detail, your listing details for products or services, and you can have what he told me was unlimited products or services on here for $5 a month. Okay. And so he's going to be doing some promoting of it. I will be promoting this to some of my list for my business, Semantic Mastery, to try to get people involved with this, because I think it's a good idea just to get kind of another marketplace going where people can buy and sell stuff, digital, and marketing related services and that sort of thing. So guys, check it out. I'm going to grab the URL and put it on the events page. I know Brian posted this in the Facebook group as well, but it's called leadgadgetmarket.com. So let me post this on the page. You guys can check that out when you get a chance. And I encourage you to sign up. I know I'm going to sign up, and I'm going to list all of my products on there. And then we also have services and everything else, but it'll be kind of nice because as more traffic comes into this marketplace, it's just going to expose my own products and services to others as well. So it could be a nice additional source of revenue just because of Brian taking the time to set this up. He's not looking to make any money on it. He's just looking to provide more value, guys. That's what's only $5 a month. So highly recommend everybody join and, add products and services in there if you have any, or you could just join so that you can be, purchase products from people or services for that matter, and make use of it since it's available to us. All right. So with that, let me grab the URL to the playlist that I put together today. I'm sure a lot of you have not seen that yet. The first video in the playlist, I put a nice bold disclaimer. This is called the local feeder site experiment. Okay. I did this today. I put all this together today. I just had an idea that I wanted to test with how to use ATM sites to backlink to and promote other ATM sites. And it doesn't have to be other ATM sites. It could be any site for that matter. But as part of the local case study that I've been, I've been doing for the last couple of weeks with you guys, and we've talked about it on these weekly webinars. One of the sites, a couple of the sites aren't doing great. I built, I don't know, half a dozen sites or so in the tree service industry covering various areas. And some of them aren't doing all that well. Some of them are doing better than others, but I just decided, there's an opportunity here potentially to take a lead gadget site or a site built with the ATM and use it to promote another site and build backlinks to it, because, I'm an SEO by the traditional terms. So, backlinks are still a big part of what I do. And so if I can use something that we all have at our disposal already, which is the ATM, to build backlinks to other sites and it's effective, then that's something I want to repeat. Okay. And I had not done that to this point yet. So I'm going to drop this link on the event page. You guys can take a look at this. By the way, if anybody has any questions, post them, because it looks like the attendance is real light. Maybe Andrea's here. Andrea, if you're here, what's up? I haven't seen you in a while. Anyways, let's go back. So the first video in that playlist is just me showing or explaining that there's a the disclaimer is that this is a test. This is only a test. I'm not encouraging anybody to do this unless you want to, because you have time to play around. Okay. I really don't have time to play around, but I think it's a worthy test. So what I did, and let's just go walk through this so that I can kind of walk you guys through this. The playlist is there, but I want you to be able to see this as well. Let me make sure you guys probably aren't even seeing my screen, are you? Let's try it again just in case. Okay. That's what sucks about not having a producer on the show with me. I usually have producers with me. Okay. So let me show you the site. I did this. I built this today, md.tssrm.org. And it, took me longer to get the short codes together than it did anything. But I put this together, and it is just a site covering one county in Maryland. All right. One county in Maryland. And yet there's 29,272 posts. So it's definitely an experiment that I wanted to try. And let me see if I got my spreadsheet still open. I do. What I did was I took the one county, which was Montgomery County in Maryland, and I separated out just that. So I filtered it out to where it was just Montgomery County, Maryland. And there's a total of 73 cities if you include all the various zip codes. If I had filtered that down, it would be a hell of a lot less. It'd be probably like a dozen. Okay. But because of the various zip codes, it came out to be 73 cities here. Okay. And so what I did was I wanted to create a short code or build this site out around Montgomery County, but then targeting all the keywords, and I mean every keyword that I could scrape from Google's keyword planner that had to do with tree services. Okay. Because this is not an approach I had tried before. For those of you that have been following the training the last few weeks, you know that I created a regional tree service site with the ATM that was targeting, I don't know, about 6 counties and all of the cities within the counties. And then it was about 16 keywords that I was targeting. All right. And they were the most general keywords that I've been working in the tree service industry for years with doing lead gen. And so I know which keywords bring the most traffic. And so there's essentially 16 of them that I used. But there's a hell of a lot of other keywords that are related to the industry that I typically don't target, because I end up ranking for them because they just get used naturally in the content anyways. But I decided to go ahead and just, why not try to, because this one, like for example, this site, I have tags set to no index on this site. And I targeted 16 keywords times 6 counties, and it was just a handful of cities because I did not use the zip codes. And you can see there's about 757 indexed pages, and or posts on this site. So this is a relatively small site, okay? And it's not performing great. It's only a couple weeks old, maybe 3 weeks old now. So, give it some more time, but it's not really performing all that well. So instead, I went ahead and built another site, and I just used some domains that I purchased that already had some metrics. I've been buying domains that already have some metrics, some backlinks and trust flow and stuff like that. And then I built this one, a Maryland subdomain on this domain, and I covered the entire state of Maryland with this one. I did not cover zip codes though. It was just counties and cities. Okay, so there was only one city listing or one city post per city, not like where you have multiple zip codes and you get multiple city posts for the same city just with unique zip codes, right? And this one came out to be with times 16 keywords, and it came out to be something like 9,650, roughly 9,600 posts in total, because it was however many cities there were in the state of Maryland times 16 keywords. So it came out to be 9,600 keywords, okay, and give or take a few. And you can see that I left the tags to index on this one, and this one has got about 16,500 results. This one is performing a little bit better than the other one. But that said, you know, we don't just build one site and then wait for it to rank and all that. We build bunches of sites. So I bought some XYZ domains, which are brand new domains, but they were only $1, you know, and I wanted to test some of those. And I've got some other domains that I'm doing some other site builds in Virginia. I've got a couple that I've done here in Maryland. So I just keep testing, and I probably built, I don't know, 6 or 8 sites around tree services in the last couple of weeks, because I've got some contractors right now waiting on leads from me, some new contractors that approached me. So I'm trying a couple different things. So what I wanted to do was try to build out, see if I could use a lead gadget site or an ATM site, an ATM build, to promote one of these sites. All right. And so that's what the premise of this training series that I just shared with you guys today is. And I explain that in the training videos as well. But for those of you that have not seen it yet, maybe this will encourage you to go watch it. So let's just walk through what I did. So with this one, I selected one county, and let me show you why. Let's go over to Google. And I'll answer questions, guys. If you have any, just post them on the page. I'll get to them in a minute. Potomac, Maryland, which is in Montgomery County. That's kind of a lucrative area. There's a lot of money there, a lot of big houses with some property, you know, each, you know, kind of like estate homes and stuff are over there, big trees. So I know there's a lot of money in the tree service industry over there. So I looked for tree removal service, Potomac, MD. And I started looking through the results. All right. And I know I've got, like I said, I've got a few sites that I built now targeting Maryland keywords for tree services. And I scrolled through these results here, and I'm not on page 1 or page 2. And it looks like, okay, here we go. On page 3, this is one of the sites that I built, and this is on an XYZ domain. So this one's showing maryland.treepros.xyz. Okay, so this is a tag page that's ranking for this. But again, this is just one of my sites that I built. And as you guys can see, this is a landing page that I created with ClickFunnels, and I'm using the WP overlay plugin from inside the site to overlay the ClickFunnels page on top of the page that's really behind it, which is just a normal one of these sites behind it. Okay, so this is a nice landing page. These convert well. So that's why that's why I'm doing it. However, it's not ranking all that well, and you can tell because it's at what? Number 20, 1, 2, 3. It's at number 23. So I just selected this, just kind of really, I just know there's money in Potomac. So I said, let's just go after that one. The competition usually isn't that stiff in there. I've got some other stuff that I do in Potomac too. So I selected this one. I said, all right, look, I'm going to create a new site targeting Montgomery County, which is Potomac's in Montgomery County. And I'm going to target all the keywords that I can possibly scrape from Google Keyword Planner that are relevant to the tree services. And then I'm going to build out a site that has got every single keyword plus that city modifier for the county of Montgomery. Okay. And again, if we go back to the spreadsheet, you'll see I got 70 that came out to be with the zip codes because I wanted to add even more listings, right? So here's the zip codes, and I've got 73 areas. Well, I came out, it ended up being 400. These are the keywords here. Okay, so this is the keywords that I ended up with after I cleaned them out. I downloaded the keyword planner, related keywords from Google Keyword Planner, and it was over 800. It was like 807 keywords or something like that. And I filtered them down, got rid of all the ones that didn't make sense, and I ended up with 401 keywords. All right. So then what I did was I decided to build the site out 401 keywords for each one of these 73 listings that you see right here. So if you do the math, 401 times 73 comes out to be 29,272 or something like that. 29,273 keywords or posts. So that's a lot. That's a normal national size site build, but all squeezed into one county. And it's targeting every single keyword that I could possibly find that had anything to do with tree services that Google told me was related. All right. So that's what I did. And that's the premise of this. And so here's the result. Now, whoops, excuse me. Let me go back. I just slapped a piece of content on there that I already had that was already spun. Just a single level spin. It wasn't deep spun or anything like that. Slapped a couple images in there, the same image short codes that I had already used for my other site builds that I've done recently. So that didn't take me very long. What took me a while was setting up the short codes properly to do this, because I ended up with 29,273 rows of data for my short codes. But here's where the magic happens, I hope. And again, I don't know yet because I just built this today, but every one of these posts now is going to have a unique link to one of the posts that end up on this site here. Wait a minute, this one here, but you can't see the site because of the overlay plugin. But I had, I'll show you the spreadsheet again. If we come back over here, you'll see I did a search and I found all the pages and posts, the tag pages and all the posts that from that site, maryland.treepros.xyz, that contained Potomac, Maryland, or that were targeting Potomac, Maryland. And you can see that I came out with 31 URLs. Okay, so I have 31 targets. What I mean by that is I wanted to build links specifically to these 31 pages and or posts, right? These are tag pages or posts, so that I could boost any one of these into ranking better for any keyword that has to do with tree services in Potomac, Maryland, right? And then any one of these pages, if I click on any one of these, this is going to show up because of the overlay. All right, so what I did was I took the news site and I built it out targeting every single keyword, 401 keywords, and appended to every single one of the cities plus the zip codes. So you'll notice right here, like this one, for example, was how to remove tree. That was the keyword that came back from Google Keyword Planner. And then it says Glen Echo MD and then 20812. So each one of these will have a modifier with the zip code, a geographic modifier with the zip code. And so you'll see that I duplicated the keyword right here by just using the custom list short codes. And now look, if we switch it again, now this is going to be, some of them are going to be broad terms, like this one's trim tree, that's very broad. We'll switch to another one. This one is arborist, and it's spelled like the European, like the people in Great Britain spell it with a U. Let's click on another one. This one is tree removal equipment. Some of them will have the in Potomac, Maryland on it. The way that I spun it was intentionally so that it would not put Potomac all the time, because I don't, then it would be exact match, too many exact match anchors. You got to figure there's 29,273 posts on this site, and every one of the posts has a link to one of those 31 URLs on the other site. So I wanted extreme diversity in the keyword anchor text, and I wanted Potomac to show up some of the time because that would be natural, but not all the time, because that would be, and it's not natural to get 29,000 links in a very short period of time for a new site. But this is a test, and some of these are no follow links too. In fact, if we keep clicking through here, you'll see roughly half of them are going to be no follow links, and when they're no follow, you'll see a strike through. Although we luck of the draw, we haven't seen that many just now. Let's wait a second, see if we can find another one. There you go. See the strike through? That means it's a no follow, which gives it more of a natural link profile as well. Excuse me. So guys, again, I just want to kind of explain what I did and why, and I'm just going to test it. I'm going to be tracking to see if this site right here, which is on the maryland.treepros.xyz, starts to perform better. Okay, I've got this connected in Google Webmaster Tools, or what's now called Search Console, and so I can track impressions and click-through rate and the keywords that people found the site on, what it was given impressions for, what people clicked, percentage of clicks and click-throughs and all that. And so I know what it's been up to this point, and I've marked the date, and I'll be tracking that and probably share some of that data with you guys next week. Once we've had, some time for this new site to index, for this one to index, and then see what happens. I'm not using the unintended consequence, or possibly an added benefit of this site, is that it could end up ranking for many various keywords, especially because I'm targeting, all these crazy keywords, so many of them, 401 different keywords, right? For such a very small area. This site itself might end up ranking very well in Montgomery County. It might start driving a ton of traffic. So I might end up just using the overlay plugin to overlay this same page right here, ClickFunnels page, on top of this site if it does. But I didn't build this site to generate traffic. I built this, and again, that could be just a side benefit, which would be great. I'll take it, no question. But I actually just built this site specifically just for these links here, if that makes sense, because I wanted to see if we could use an ATM site. I hadn't heard anybody else talk about it, and I thought it would be an interesting test to see if we could use an ATM build to actually push or promote another ATM build, or anything for that matter. Because again, if this works, this could be something that could be implemented for other sites, not just ATM sites, if that makes sense. So anyways, I thought it was interesting. I figured I'd share it with you guys because, you know, that's what I do, is test stuff and see if it works. And looks like there's not a lot of people here. Hey guys, if you have any questions, post them, because if not, I'm going to wrap it up early. I just had a few things I wanted to share with you guys, and then I'll answer questions. If there's not any questions, we shut it down. So I see a couple people should look like they're here, but so with that, you know, like I said, I'll be tracking these and see what happens over the next week or two. We'll talk about it more next week. I'll show some results from inside the Google Search Console dashboard and see what kind of traction it gets, if any at all. And it might tank. It might be an awful idea, but we don't know until we test. And so that's why I'm encouraging you guys to, you know, take this training as just kind of something good to know. If it works out, then it's something that we could start to implement, those that wanted to promote, you know, help some of their sites rank better. And that's really the reason why I'm doing it, because if it works well, then it's something I will repeat. But I don't recommend that any of you do it yet, unless you have time that you just like to do this kind of stuff and experiment and play around. I do. I enjoy that. So that's kind of the whole reason why I did it. So lastly, let's see if Brian wanted me to talk about something else too. I can't remember what it is now. I should have wrote it down. Let's see if there's any questions. No, it's light attendance today. Okay. Well, cool. I did notice also that the updates that Don put in the ATM are pretty damn cool. Brian, I know what he wanted to talk about, and this is in part why, because of the updates that Don put into the ATM. You know, he's constantly recoding and making it better. And now that you can load domains one right after the other very, very quickly, that's huge. It's a big time saver when you batch work, and which is really what you should be doing, is batching work, because you'll get way more efficient with your time if you do it like that. And so Brian was telling me that he loaded 40 purchased 40 domains from Namecheap, loaded all 40 domains into the ATM, and then built 12 sites, and actually built 12 sites and did the cleanup in an hour and 40 minutes. And that's pretty impressive. You know what I mean? So part of that has to do with the actual updates. So I think it is pretty interesting that, you know, things are becoming more efficient, more streamlined as we go. Any of you that have been here for a while knows that there's a huge difference between what we're seeing now with the ATM and what we had, you know, 5-6 months ago, where it was a hell of a lot more work to get even just to the site build part of it, because we had to, you know, set up Cloudflare and all that other stuff. And so now it's, you know, those of you that are just coming in, you got it good, and it's just going to continue to get better. Those of us that have been here for a while, we certainly appreciate these updates, and they're definitely making things a hell of a lot more streamlined for us. And so for that, we're very grateful. All right, a couple questions rolled in. I'm glad you guys got them in, because I was going to shut it down. Michael says, hey, Bradley, any thought on using a tag template feature in Yoast SEO to make tags unique? I hadn't actually looked at that yet, Michael. I haven't had time. And besides the plugins that come already installed, is the, what is it, all-in-one SEO or whatever it is, plugins. So I just haven't had time to play with that, Michael. You know, hopefully maybe between now and next week, if I get time, I will. But I just encourage you to try it, Michael. You know, build out your own sites and test it out, and let us know what you think of it. If you find it useful, maybe you can shoot me a message and say, hey, look, I checked it out. This is kind of useful. Maybe I think you should probably do some, you know, some additional training on it, and I'd be happy to. I can't test everything for you guys, but every now and then, if you find something that's you think is going to be extremely valuable to others, then I'll certainly look into it so that I can also share it with others and help them out as well. Okay. But I do encourage you, Michael, to test it out on your own, and just let me know. If I get some time, I'll certainly play with it. Okay. No question. I didn't even realize I had that, so I'm glad you brought that to my attention. I use Yoast SEO from like all my traditional sites. I haven't used it yet on an ATM build, though, just because it's the other one's already pre-installed, and I've got used to doing the cleanup with that plugin in place. So Excuse me. Michael Dawes says, I followed your tree service case study as far as last week. I'm in the process of completing the content and adding images. My goal is to create leads for local tree cutters. Should I assume that we are going to use overlay to place a squeeze page over these sites? I'd like to set up a call tracking number by county, send the calls to a live call center, and send leads to half a dozen different prospects in each county to tease their interest. How can we go about doing this? Well, you can do that, Michael. I don't recommend that. When I sell leads to contractors, I do it on an exclusive basis, and that way I can charge a little bit more money, and also it just creates a better rapport, like a better working relationship with them. On the front end, when you're looking to, first monetize your leads, then I can understand sending the same lead to multiple contractors and letting them know so that there's that scarcity in place that you've got, that you're sending the same lead to 4 other contractors. However, I can tell you, especially in the tree service industry, those guys are used to fighting against each other for the same leads, and they don't like it. And so when you can come in and, I've been doing lead gen in the tree service business for about 4 years now. And I can tell you that when you come in and say, look, I'll give you the exclusive rights to these leads, then that's a breath of fresh air to them. And, generally you can get a lot of people on board with you that way. Again, I can understand up front, maybe possibly, trying to use the scarcity tactic to get people interested more quickly. But that's not something that I particularly like to do. I might say, hey, look, I'm giving you first shot at this. If I haven't heard back from you in the next, few hours or the next 12 hours or the next 24 hours or something like that, I'm going to contact the next guy. But at least then you're still telling them. And again, it's just my opinion. You can set it up any way you want, Michael, and I encourage you to test. Okay. But I'm just telling you from my own experience that the tree service contractors, I don't like having them compete over the same lead. But that said, to answer your question about the layovers, using the layover, I'm using ClickFunnels because I have it, and I use it a lot for my, coaching business. If for SEO coaching and stuff, I build funnels all the time now. And so I just got really good with ClickFunnels, and I can punch out a really nice looking page in just a few minutes. And so that's why I started using it. I'd never used this before for like this kind of stuff. It was just for sales funnels. But now, since I have it at my disposal, I'm using it. And these kind of pages do convert a lot better than a typical or traditional website. And the reason why is because there is no other action to take on this page other than to fill out watch this video, make a phone call, or fill out the form. There are no links on this page. You can't click off of this page anywhere else. Okay, well, I guess you can click on that, which just shows the image. But that's it. There's a video, a contact request form, and a phone number. And on a mobile phone, if you're looking for on a smartphone, it should be a tap to call button. And that's pretty much it. There's nothing else. There's no links you can click on anything, right? So the reason why we use pages like this is because when you don't give them a choice to take any other action, all they can do is either close the browser, click the back button, which, by the way, if you're using the WP Zero Bounce button or plugin, if they click the back button, you could have them go to another landing page or just have it refresh to this page if you wanted or something. You know what I mean? You can send them to Amazon. I don't care what you do. I'm just saying you could keep them in a loop by using that plugin. It's not very white hat, but you can do that with these. Now, I don't recommend, this is a ClickFunnels page, like the URL, so this is not on one of my sites. This is actually hosted by ClickFunnels. And that way I'm not worried about it. I wouldn't overlay a client site on a lead gadget site. I wouldn't do it. I would build them a landing page on one of your own domains with their details on it, if that's the case. I know you're talking about lead gen, but I'm talking about anybody that may be listening to this and maybe getting the idea that they're going to put their client site on top of a lead gadget site. I don't recommend that because essentially it could potentially cause some trouble because it's not really white hat, if that makes sense. So, but as long as you keep in control and you always keep things protected, you can drive the leads anywhere you want, right? So personally, yes, going forward, I'm going to be using these landing page templates on top of the ATM site builds just because they convert better. And that's where what I'm looking for is the conversion. All right. But you can do it with pop-up plugins and things like that. But I find these to be better. Let's see. Call tracking number by county. Send the calls to live call center and send the leads to half a dozen different prospects. Well, you can. You can do that. As far as setting up the different call tracking numbers by county, yeah, and then send them to a live call center. That's what I would do. I would probably start off with, because call centers can be expensive. I use answerconnect.com. Answerconnect.com is, I've been using them for about 4 years. They're really, really good. But, during the summer season, like I can spend up to $1,500 a month just on the call center services. And it's lucrative, though. I mean, I'm making money, so it's just the cost of doing business. I mean, I'm just saying it's expensive, especially when you start getting a high call volume or you get a bunch of sub accounts, which is what you would need in your case, Michael, because you're talking about having multiple phone numbers going to multiple. It could go to the same call center, but you'd have to have multiple sub accounts, one per phone number, if that makes sense. Okay. And so I recommend just starting off with possibly one. Set up a call center, have all of the phone numbers. You could have multiple phone numbers, but you could have them all funnel into one account, one main account on like Answer Connect, and then have the dispatcher or the call screener, I call them dispatchers, take the lead information and then route that lead to the corresponding contractors. That way you don't need to have multiple sub accounts. So in other words, if you had, like, let's say you had one county and you had 4 contractors that you were going to send the lead to for any lead that came in from that one county, you could have all those numbers, all those calls come into that one call center. She takes the lead, she or he takes the lead information and then sends that lead information out to those 4 contractors simultaneously, basically. And that would cut down on your costs, if that makes sense. So can I walk through the mechanics of setting up the system step by step? Well, I mean, I guess I could. I'll tell you right now, I use callfire.com for my phone numbers. I know there's Twilio, there's Analytic Call Tracking, which is Joe Troyer's product. There's a lot of different call tracking services that you can use, or for virtual phone numbers. But essentially, I just go rent a phone number from Callfire. I've just been using Callfire for 4 years, and there's no. I've got so many damn phone numbers, it would be silly for me to change to a different platform. I think Twilio is cheaper than Callfire, though. So just so you know, but I use callfire.com. I set up a phone number and then I go to Answer Connect and just, go check it out. There's not really anything to it. Answerconnect.com. They don't list their plans until you give them your email, and then they're going to have a salesperson call you. They're great service, though. I think their lowest plan is $149 a month, and then it goes up from there depending on your usage. But essentially, their customer service is outstanding. Anytime I ever have any issues, I don't send in support tickets. I don't send in emails. I get on the phone and I call these people, and I get somebody on the phone. I tell them what I need and they get it done. All right. And so like I said, I could walk you through it, but honestly, it would be really a waste of, it wouldn't be the best use of my time, Michael, because the steps are get a phone number, get multiple phone numbers if you need them, which again, I use Callfire, but there's other options. And then if you're going to use a call center, which I highly recommend, it's a much smarter way to go about doing lead gen than just directing phone numbers directly to a contractor. And the reason I say that is because most contractors, guys, are working contractors, which means they actually do their job besides just own the job, if that makes sense. So especially with tree guys, those guys are often up a tree using a chainsaw. They're not answering their phone. And so when I first got into the tree service lead gen business, I was directing calls directly to contractors, and I wasn't making a lot of money. I was doing on a pay-per-call basis or on a lead share or a revenue share model, which is where I would get a percentage of closed jobs or, leads that turned into sales. I would get a percentage of the contract price, and I was losing money all the time. So, and I didn't want to, when I first started, pay for a call center because it was like expensive, But as soon as I bit the bullet and implemented a call center, my revenue went up 30%, including, that was after expenses of the call center, because now I had a warm body answering the phone, a live person answering the phone whenever somebody called. They'd take the lead data and then they would text and email it out. I'd get a copy of it too. They'd email it to me as well, so I have a record of it, to the contractor. And when the contractor had a moment, they would call the lead back to schedule the estimate. And my revenue shot up instantly from that. And so I've been using it ever since. And again, these guys are really, really helpful. All you need to do is set up a call to, register an account, and then get somebody on the phone and just tell them, look, I'm setting up I produce leads for the tree service industry or whatever industry you're doing it. I need to set up an account, and then they're going to tell you that you need to create a script. I can give you some example call scripts if that's what you need, Michael. Because it's basically like you provide them with it's like choose your own adventure book, if you know what I mean. They answer the phone and say, hello, this is blah, blah, blah. How may I help you? If the caller says this, then they say this. If the caller says this, then they say this. If the caller asks this, then they say this. Take the phone number, take the caller's name, phone number, address, best time to call back. Tell them, thank you. Our estimator will be in contact with you shortly. Hang up the phone. Then the lead gets routed to wherever you tell them to route it to. So it's not difficult to do. All right. I don't mind sharing some resources with you, but as far as a step-by-step, it would take up a lot of time to do that. So excuse me. If there's enough interest in it, I'll do it for sure. Michael says, are you using contact form 7 or is it built in or autoresponder? That's an autoresponder, Michael. I mean, it's with ClickFunnels, you can create forms with as many fields as you want. You can, I mean, it's whatever it's open to your imagination. But yeah, I have this one connected to GetResponse. I don't recommend you use GetResponse with ClickFunnels though, because there seems to be a lot of bugs and errors with it recently. If you're going to use an autoresponder with ClickFunnels, I recommend you go with Aweber. Aweber is a little bit cheaper than GetResponse too. Okay. And there's just been some weird errors lately that's going on with ClickFunnels and GetResponse. I've already got an email list for other stuff in GetResponse, or else I would switch this over to Aweber. Okay. But I don't need a second autoresponder for this stuff. But anyways, yeah, this is just it. Basically, if you fill out your data here and you hit send contact request, it takes you to a thank you page. And then with a big phone number saying for immediate service, call now, blah, blah, blah. Here, you know, I'll fill it out now. I'll just show you real quick if you want to see what it looks like. Guys, please don't spam my form. Okay. Please don't spam my form. Bradley at, let's say, Bamboo Marketing. I don't think I'm on that list for that one. And so once I click the submit button, it should redirect me to the thank you page. And it tells me, you know, if you need immediate assistance, call now. And it says go to main website. If I click on that, that's going to take me to the main website, not the landing page. The main website of the contractor that I have servicing these leads right now. Okay. So like if I click on that, that's going to just take them over to but I've already captured the lead information. That's the most important thing, right? So, and then if I go look at my inbox, I should have an autoresponder that showed up. It sometimes takes a few minutes to show up. So it's not showing up in my email yet. Plus I had it going through a alias. So sometimes the mail servers are a little bit slow, but I should be getting a confirmation email saying, hey, your request has been received. Somebody will be back, contact you shortly. All right. And then it also encourages them at that point to call, because the email leads tend to get lost in the cracks sometimes where the phone calls don't. Probably 90% of the business is done via phone leads anyways. So I can do a round robin direct call with ACT with Whisper. Yeah, you could, Michael. The only problem with that is then you're assuming that the contractors are going to answer the calls. And that's what I was talking about with a working contractors, which is most contractors are working contractors. They're going to miss a lot of those calls. And granted, you're right. If it's a round robin, I'm assuming it would call one contractor and then the next call would go to another contractor. But if it's a missed call, it's a missed call. If somebody doesn't answer it when the phone's ringing, it's not like that person's going to stay on the line, you know what I mean, while it goes to another contractor. So my point is, if you're doing a lead gen business where you're selling leads, especially to contractors, unless they have a receptionist of their own, then you're better off using a call center. I'm telling you, you can try it out the other way up front, but your revenue will increase dramatically when you have somebody that answers the call as soon as it rings. Okay. The ATM walkthrough is what I meant. The mechanics of setting up the system step by step with overlaying, adding independent number by county. Okay, that's a good question. I would say you'd either have to build separate sites. That if you're using the WP overlayer, which is what we're doing here. If we backed up a couple spots. Let me pause this. If you were to use a WP overlayer, you'd have to set up separate sites for each county, which is possible, especially when you see something like this that's got 29,273 posts and it's targeting just one county. So, you know, if you're going to be doing that, then you'd either have to set up separate sites because you're going to have to use a different landing page for each county with the different phone number and stuff. Or you'd have to buy a more expensive overlayer plugin, a premium style plugin, not the WP overlayer that comes built in. Okay. There's one that was, and Andreas was just actually promoting this one earlier that looks really good. It was called Leads Phantom. I don't know if you saw that. Leads Phantom was, it's like an overlayer plugin. There's another one by SEM Easy called Double Agent. Those are plugins that you can use that do the overlay function, but you can get more granular. Instead of it being a global setting where it overlays across the entire site, you can have more control over like specific categories. You know, different pages lay over top different categories and that sort of thing. So you're going to have to do one or the other, either build separate sites or you're going to have to invest in a premium overlayer plugin in order to be able to have that kind of control. Okay. That's entirely up to you. If you have, see, the thing is if you're going to use a plugin, like I said, that you could have more control over like which pages you lay over top of like other pages. So in other words, like let's say you have 5 counties on your site and you target 5 different counties on one site build, then you could have 5 different landing pages and just use in the settings of the plugin, you tell it, okay, I want this landing page to lay over top of this any poster page in this category, and then this landing page on any poster page of this category. And that way you could have more granular control. And then you don't need to worry about phone numbers or anything else on this site because nobody's going to see this site. All they're going to see is this, right? That's all they're going to see. So it's really simple to do it that way. It just requires an investment of a premium plugin. And I think both Double Agent, the Phantom Leads Phantom or whatever it was, the one that Andreas was just promoting earlier this week, I think that one's a one-time expense. I'm sure there's an upsell, though, that gives you more functionality that probably comes with a monthly expense. I know the other one, SEM Double Agent, you have to be a member, but I think it's like $37 a month or something, and you get that plus other plugins. So just keep that in mind, okay? But that's probably the best way to do it, in my opinion. If you're going to be doing a lot of lead gen stuff, guys, the WP overlayer is okay, but if you're going to be doing a lot of lead gen, then you know you're better off investing in some tools that are going to help make your business and job easier. ATM walkthrough. That's what I just answered. Excuse me. Scripts would be great. Okay, I can take some of my call scripts, Michael, and you know, strip out any sensitive data and just post them right here on the events page or on the next week's events page so that you can download them, or it would probably be like a Google Drive link anyways. So you can copy them and then just modify them to your needs. That's not a problem. I don't have a problem with that. I've done a whole bunch of them over the years. So Michael says, okay, I have Profit Builder and was wondering why your form looked nice and mine looked horrible, but I have Aweber. I'm not familiar with, I know Profit Builder. It's by Sean Donahoe. I haven't actually used it. I know it's a decent plugin though. As far as the forms, oftentimes, Michael, you can go to like Fiverr and hire somebody to build you a nice looking HTML form. Like, for example, if you build a landing page and you leave a spot that's dedicated for a form, and then you send the URL to your page over to somebody on Fiverr or from Upwork, somewhere that specializes in HTML forms and autoresponders and that sort of thing, and you can find that kind of stuff. Like I typically buy that kind of stuff from Upwork, formerly Odesk, but you can find people on Fiverr to do it too. I prefer to go with the Upwork myself. But you can send them a landing page URL and say, and in your instructions say, hey, you can see where the form goes. I need you to create me a nice looking HTML form that integrates with Aweber in your case, that will fill that spot there, and let somebody else design it for you. Because now, especially if you have a template that you're going to use over and over again, it's worth spending a few bucks to get a really nice looking form made that you can use over and over and over again, right? That integrates with your autoresponder specifically. Okay. Like, guys, don't be afraid to spend a few bucks, especially if you're going to be making money from these sites. So when you use the call center, you have the call center answer the calls from the leads and then have them forward that info to the client. Is that correct? Yes, of course. That's exactly what I do. So the lead gets to talk to someone right away, but they still have to wait for a call back. Correct. Well, it depends on the agreement I have with the contractor. Some contractors like a live transfer, But what I recommend then, so what I mean by that is the call center takes the call first, yes, because they screen the calls. Remember, guys, especially when you start ranking in Google for with phone numbers and stuff like that, you're going to get a shit ton, pardon my language, but a shit ton of spam calls from sales, people trying to sell you on Google, first page Google rankings. And isn't it funny that you don't get calls for that crap until you're on first page? But it happens, and you're going to get spam calls. You're going to get calls from Yelp, and you're going to get calls from it's relentless. So by having a call center, they screen all that stuff, and then they'll take the lead information. If it's a bona fide lead, they'll capture the lead info, name, address, phone number, reason for calling, best time to call back, that sort of thing. And then you can have it actually, okay, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and transfer you now. And they do a live transfer. You can do that. However, like I said, most of the businesses or industries that I work in are with working contractors. So those calls go to voicemail, end up going to voicemail anyways. So capture the lead info first, then you can attempt a live transfer if that's what you want. Or I just have them say, okay, thank you. We'll have our estimator call you back in just a few moments. And that's typically what my closing statements are on my scripts. Is thank you for your interest in blank, blank, blank. We'll have our estimator call you back in just a few moments. Okay. And granted, sometimes people will call the next number too, and they'll end up having multiple contractors come out and, bid on a job, but it's still a hell of a lot better than missing the call altogether, which is what happens if you send calls directly to a contractor and they miss the call. Then the person definitely calls the next number in line, and they usually will never call that, the first number that was missed back, if that makes sense. Okay. Okay. Michael says the goal is to build a system to target local businesses within, say, 50 miles. So what is the best way to set it up? Structure of the site build. Well, I don't know, because I haven't done a lot of, Michael, with specifically ATM site builds. I'm not, I'm just playing with local site builds now. The first one I built was 3 weeks ago. Okay, so I don't have that refined yet. I can tell you what my thoughts are, but then again, 3 weeks ago, I wouldn't have thought to build a 29,000 post site in one county. That hadn't even crossed my mind 3 weeks ago. So this might be the way to go. I don't know. This site was just built today, but 3 weeks from now, a month from now, this site might be crushing it because I've targeted every freaking variation of keyword plus city you could squeeze into a single county. You know what I mean? And so my point is, I'm really not sure. I don't want to tell you, hey, this is the definitive best way to do it, when I honestly don't know myself. I know on traditional way how to do it, but that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about ATM builds. And so I'm learning that myself. Personally, what I would do if you're saying over a 50-mile radius is I would probably test a couple different sites, structures or build plans. In other words, like I might target several counties, a separate site per county, like what I was just talking about here, and then test that against building one site that covers that 50-mile radius, but is broken up into categories properly. So it's almost like silo structure. Remember, these sites do not have silo structure. Right now, it's impossible to build these sites with silo structure because we don't have that functionality in the ATM yet. But you can give them quasi silo structure, right? With the way you break things up with categories, and pretty much logically the way we do it now anyways is categories, and on a small scale would be counties, and then you build your posts out at the city level. So what I would do is I would test both of those, Michael. Again, I would figure out a way, okay, look, I'm going to build, let's say, a 6-county radius. I'll build 6 separate sites, at least one per county, but probably 2 or 3 per county, where I would target each site per county, if that makes sense. And then I would also probably design a build that would cover all 6 counties, but would be set up and broken down into categories, and the categories being those individual counties that way. And I'd probably build, 8 or 10 sites that way and compare the results and see which ones perform better, because then now you're going to have a strategy that you can duplicate. Once you realize which ones are going to perform better, now you've got something new. And that's what I'm doing now, guys. That's what I'm trying to tell you. I just started building local sites, and I probably built, I don't know, at least 8 sites different ways. And in this one today, so we're looking at, I don't know, 8 to 10 sites that I've built in the last 3 weeks, which isn't a lot, but I have limited time to put into this. but I'm testing different methods and I'm comparing results, and I'm sharing it with you guys as I get it. Okay. So, I will have more data for you, Michael, but in the meantime, don't let it stop you, buddy. Just roll out with what you can, think up a plan, test different configurations. Don't be afraid to just pump out a whole bunch of sites. Some of them are going to be duds. In fact, a good portion of them are going to be duds, but some of them are going to work really well, and sometimes even more than you could have imagined. So maybe Dennis with the receptionist would be better choice for the first go round. Yeah, I mean, it is. I mean, like I never did anything in the dentist industry. I just thought it was saturated by people like us. So I stuck with more like I've got a contracting background anyways, so I just felt more comfortable talking to those kind of guys. And I actually fell into the tree service industry because it was just kind of a suggestion by a business associate of mine. Found out that industry is highly lucrative for leads. Okay, especially if you get in on what I call revenue share, because those guys have very little expenses. Their jobs are pretty much all labor. It's like no materials, just fuel costs and stuff. And so that's like there's a ton of profit on those, or a high profit margins on those. And so when you can find good contractors and work out a revenue share model with them, like my best contractor, the one that you guys just saw on that's the branding right here, Genesis Tree Service, I got sites all over the place for this guy and his company, and he gives me 10% of any leads that turn into sales. So he doesn't pay me for leads that don't turn into sales, but when he does get a sale, I get 10% of the revenue. And, I mean, he's closed jobs at $27,000. So that's a $2,700 phone call for me. It's a highly lucrative business. If you get with the right people. It takes a level of trust though, or a system to verify that they're not screwing you. I've had a lot of tree service guys over the years that I've tried to do revenue share with that have screwed me. And I found out that they were lying to me and telling me that they weren't getting jobs that they were closing. And I can tell you that they're not the most sophisticated bunch. So I was able to catch them, but it's a pain in the ass because it's a lot of wasted time and wasted money. Essentially, they're stealing from you at that point. But when you find somebody good, Pedro, he's the guy that owns it. Like he's a real good Christian man. That's important to me. And he's really honest. And like this guy makes a lot of money from these leads, and I make a lot of money from giving in the leads. So those are good models to go after. Dennis, sure. I guess that's a good industry. I've never done leads for Dennis, but I'm sure that I've heard that they pay a lot of money for leads. So you could try that. Having a receptionist is good because somebody would answer the phone. Okay. All right, guys. Well, we're at about the hour mark, close to it. So if you have any other questions, post them. I got like 5 more minutes. Otherwise, I'm going to wrap it up. And Michael, I will put on a short list to get some of my scripts. I'll get a couple of scripts out for you and make them generic enough so that you can use them if you'd like. Remember, they're targeted for contractors, though. So if you're going to use them for dentists, you're going to have to modify them heavily. Okay. But I'll share them with you in the, either on this page or on the next event page. I'm going to try to set that up within the next 24 hours for next week, and I'll post it there too. So, all right. Okay, guys. Well, it looks like nobody else is asking questions, so I'm going to shut it down. And thanks for everybody being here. By the way, just so you know, I do recommend you guys go check out the lead gadget market, because I know it's brand new right now, but Brian really wants to get that thing loaded up with people providing services and products and stuff like that in there. And I think it's going to be pretty cool. I'm going to have a page in there as soon as I get time. It'll be next week before I get my page up. But once I do, just check it out, because I know he wants to get people in here and just get some activity and some action going in here. And you guys would be the perfect people to start with. Okay. What's the typical pay per call? Michael, that's going to depend on every single industry. Okay. Like there's not really any typical anything. You can use the pay per click lead. If you go to Google AdWords and you see what people are paying per click in that particular industry in your area, then you can base pay per calls off of that. Although I recommend that you at least increase the pay per call by doubling it, or by even double and a half. Okay. Because if you, like for example, tree services in Fairfax, Virginia, if you look up tree service Fairfax, VA and Google AdWords, it's like $38 or $42 per click. Right. And so if you're going to do a pay per call basis, I would recommend at least $65 or $70 per call, per qualifying call. And that's part of the reason I like calls going into a call center, because the call center takes bona fide lead information. When they send that send button to send an email and text to the contractor, that's a qualifying call. It's already been screened. So that could be a $75 call. Okay. But I prefer the revenue share in that particular model. But again, if you're doing pay per call, you can use that. If you can get a hold of a home advisor lead schedule sheet, then you can base your costs on that. Keep in mind that home advisor, they sell the same lead to 3 to 5 contractors. So if you are selling exclusive leads or exclusivity of the leads, then you can charge a higher price than what they charge too. I've got an old home advisor. Well, before it was home advisor, it was called Service Magic or Service Master. And I've got one, but it's like 4 years ago. So those prices are way outdated. Okay. But anyways, guys, it's time for me to wrap it up. So everybody, thanks for being here. We'll see you guys next week. When I post the events page, if you guys have any questions ahead of time, make sure you post them early, because it'll give me a chance to prepare. Like if you have something like requests that you want to see gone over more in depth, post the questions ahead of time. It'll give me time to prepare. Okay. Thanks for everyone being here. We'll see you next week.